Jeff's the clicker.
This is recording.
We're recording. We're live.
We are live.
Oh, we are live. We are live in the Weehaw Experience studio.
Other way.
What?
Experience Weehaw.
Oh yeah. we are live in
Good
the
start.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's called Experience Weehaw.
But it's also the Weehaw Experience.
It is.
So it goes both ways.
Okay.
It's true.
And with that, we're very excited to have our guest today, Andrew Bachman, owner, founder of Troutbrook Landscaping.
Hey guys.
Troutbrook Tree Services, or how do you properly?
Yeah, Troutbrook Landscaping and soon to be also Troutbrook Arborists.
Arborists.
Yeah.
Are you changing the name?
Well, I'm gonna split off the companies and do two things, but it might be a few months out.
All right, cool.
The arboring side is what has brought Andrew into my life, and other things that brought you and I together through being young professionals and very active go-getters in West Hartford. But your love for trees, I mean, it's a passion.
Yeah.
And I look forward to, and our guests are going to be excited to hear once we get going. I mean, I know, just saying trees and then let you go.
Trees are great. It's West Hartford has such a beautiful canopy. It's such a character of the town to have shade and mature trees. And there's people over the years that, especially a lot of West Hartford homeowners have taken care of their trees, and I meet with them and have such a deep understanding and love for the trees. And from a professional standpoint, there's a few people, just a handful in town, who really like honor that level of understanding of the value of trees to this town. And every time there's a big project and trees have to come down, or there's a big storm and trees have to come down, it is a big upset for a lot of people, and they don't know it right away, but they'll know it when they lose their shade and they lose the beauty in the streets.
Yep.
And you can tell a nice community when you travel. Like I traveled to Princeton, New Jersey last year, by the canopy and the shade just right when you enter town. It's a really fun thing, but it's something that's not like, it's not immediate, pressing, or right in front of people. Trees they're just there. They're majestic. They have an energy to them that's just a really like background thing. So it's one of those things. Once I learned that I could, and I'm still learning. In the very beginning, trees, they have so much to teach us, and I have so much to learn from them. But right at the beginning of my career right now, and I'm realizing that there's a real opportunity to add value and to train other people to add value to the community by taking care of people's trees.
Right.
So
Andrew, why don't you maybe back up?
Okay,
we
sure.
Want to get into that? Maybe back up.
Sure.
Where did Troutbrook Landscaping get its start? Why is it called Troutbrook Landscaping?
Sure.
I know there's a street Troutbrook.
Yeah, it's ever evolving.
You grew up in West Hartford, right?
Yeah, I grew up in West Hartford. So I grew up along Troutbrook near the American School for the Deaf, and I always took my dog for walks down in Troutbrook, went running down in Troutbrook area. Everybody knows Troutbrook. Now we have a Troutbrook Trail.
Yep.
And Troutbrook Drive's a main road in town. So another kind of a double entendre there, I guess that's the right way to say it. My name is Andrew Bachman, and my last name is Fisherman, man of the brook. So there's a connection there. And then my whole family was always into fishing and boating and fishing on the Long Island Sound. And then also my name's St. Andrew. My mom told me I was the patron saint of fishermen, that St. Andrew was the patron saint of fishermen. So there's more connect. I'm Pisces, so I'm always into the water and the water elements, and I enjoy that. Right. So I wanted to name the business something that would last, that would make sense to everybody, but also have meaning to me. Okay. So that was a long-winded explanation.
No, that's right. No,
that's what we do.
Okay, cool.
And that's why we have you on, and our guests. We want to expose and let people know about the person behind the businesses, or behind the facade, I guess. You can say facade of success. And success comes overnight.
It seems to, right?
Right now. Yeah. So it seems it.
It seems it. I mean, 7 years, 8 years is a long time. And you're working every day in the trenches, out in the fields.
Yep. How many hours a week?
Me right now, I give it probably 65 to 75 hours a week.
When you started?
Probably 50 to 60 at most. Yeah. And it was a big deal to do 60 hours. I really thought I was pushing it. Now it's just normal.
Yeah, it's a normal week for you.
Yeah.
It's a light week.
No big deal.
It's a light week.
I mean, we're recording this on a Saturday.
Yeah.
It'll get aired on a weekday, Sunday morning, I guess.
Usually once a week we're doing these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 6 days a week, 7. I mean, you work now we're going into winter, daylight shorter.
Yeah, and you get rain days, so you have to work, when you can. And so the guys understand that. I understand that. It's a certain ethic you have. When it's sunny, you work. And when it's not snowing and not raining, you work. And so you hope that you can fit enough in the day to get things done. So when you have 3 rain days in a row, you're not out, begging in the streets and feeling like, just useless because you can't do landscaping on a rain day. You can just train. That's about all you can do and plan for the future.
So you talked a little bit before, Andrew, about you talked about the arborist side of it, right? So everybody, you look at it's kind of you go down the road, you drive down the road, you see a bunch of trucks on the side of the road, you think a landscaping company is just they're going to cut your lawn and do your shrubs and stuff like that.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit more about what you specialize in, with the arborist side and kind of how you got into that and what's involved there.
Well, I enjoy the landscaping side of things, and it's more of like a systemized business that you can run. You mow the lawn, you put the mulch down. It can be routine and get to be a little bit stale from a perspective of somebody like myself who always likes to learn and grow.
Sure.
But every property is different, So the arborist side of things is very intellectual. And it has deep meaning. It takes all the things you've ever learned in high school biology and it can apply them to how trees grow and interact with each other in their environments. And same thing goes for shrubs and grass too, because they're all living organisms. So and you just get more of a intellectual feedback from it that it's enjoyable for me as somebody who's a reader and who I'm always looking for a challenge intellectually. Yep. So that's why I enjoy it the most.
So it's part of the business that you have to do. It's part that comes with it.
For sure.
Then there's a part of the business that you love to do.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
That sounds like that's what that is.
Yeah. I just enjoy it because I feel like if every man and woman wants to be unique in their profession and feel like they have a specialization. And tree service gives me that avenue. I didn't think it would end up that way, but it's something that I think I'm uniquely qualified for, and it's also like a journey and a learning experience all the time. And I have really good people around me who've joined my business, so that's been good too because they learn along with me.
Yeah. How many employees do you have?
I have like 10 people currently. Yeah. Okay. So right around there. Sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 15.
Depending on the season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So things have grown. It's a lot to manage. I have a business manager now, so he runs the office and does tasks and calls people.
Stuff you don't want to have to do.
Yeah, so you just can't do it all yourself.
Yeah.
Well, and that's when you and I first actually met. You were talking on how you're stuck staying up late, invoicing, doing the office management side.
That was tough. Yeah.
Takes you away from being able to go look at new jobs.
Yeah, part of the thing
training is huge.
Exactly. If I had studied under, and I would recommend people thinking about entrepreneurialism to really learn under somebody else's business who's successful for a while, maybe in the market just one town over, so they're not competing once they leave and start their own thing. Right. If I had learned a system from somebody else, I wouldn't have to go through those harder points where I reach a threshold and then I finally hire somebody to take over that part of the business.
Right.
And that's something that I'm continuing to do because I have a business coach now, but I don't have great models of other people who are doing businesses that are fast growing around me, in my field.
Right.
Because people tend to get to a certain point and it's enough for them, and it could be enough for me, but I don't have too many things drawing on my time, and I really want to go after it and make this business a really successful business. For myself, for the community, and for the people that work with me. That's the most rewarding part, is training the people that come up and work in the business.
Is most of your business in West Hartford?
Yeah.
Or do you work outside?
That's an interesting point right there. So the biggest liability in my business, far and away above everything else, even with tree service, is driving. So driving around town, you can have somebody's in the mood, or it's the end of the day, it's rush hour. There's so many nuances to driving. So people who are the best drivers, are 25 and older is when your insurance rates go down because they assume you have some modicum of experience. So, but you take things close, to home, and you don't have to drive as much. That's the main thing. And then if it's bad weather, inclement weather, or you have a big truck and a trailer, and there's some issue with the lights in the trailer, you're not driving 2 towns away to get that truck and trailer home. I just stay right in West Hartford. West Hartford is awesome. And then so, I'll build it small, staying right in town. Yeah. And then I'll grow out from there. And I can offer better service. I can, I don't have to pay as much attention to the driving. I'm still working on that, trying to consolidate.
Never even thought of it that way.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
The driving is the biggest liability. We have not had any major accidents, but there have been so many situations where you could envision something being worse than it was, like a fender bender, or somebody runs a stop sign into the side of my mowing truck, and we could have flipped the stuff happens all the time. Remember that?
A year ago on Boulevard.
Yeah, remember that?
Someone ran
a guy with no plates, just ran the stop sign right in the back of my mowing truck.
I saw you, and I reached out. I was like, Andrew, I saw you on the side freaking out on your phone. You were just, and obviously me and the insurance side, I'm like, well, one, this is not good, as it's a claim, and it's you got to get to jobs. Yeah. You have places you're expected to be, and people that want you there. And obviously, you want people to be. No one's hurt.
Yeah, you have to live with some risk, but it's like managing the risk and just driving defensively at all times, keeping things right at the speed limit or below when you're doing big trucks. We do training on that every single month, and it's something that's constantly coming up as an issue. Close calls on the road.
And it takes 30 minutes, 20 minutes to do a lawn, and you're doing 30 in a day.
Yeah, 25, 30. Yeah.
And so that 8-hour, 10-hour day, sometimes if it rains, you got to press it.
Yeah. Yep.
And how do you deal with expectations from some of your customers?
Oh, okay. So we figured this out now. I was just telling you, we've cracked the code on some of the things for how to make money. Yep. And I'm always trying to learn more. I really want honest feedback from people. Sure. We route the mowing route really tight, and then if we have a rain day during the week, we put extra guy in the mowing crew so we can get everything done. And then we can also have the option to work Saturdays, and so we leave that option open. The crew's on board with me, about that. Yeah. But if the lawns are wet, they know which ones they can do, which aren't going to be that messy. And it's hands off. I hardly talk to the mowing crew. I mean, it's great. I get to see them for 5 minutes in the morning, and that's it. And they just handle their own business. It's awesome. And they're so close to town that if they need anything, I can pop by and talk to them. But it's tough business to make. I mean, any business is difficult to make money. Sure. And you really got to hone in on all the efficiencies.
Oh, and then scalability. I mean, it's hard. Yeah. You got infrastructure. You got to buy trucks and mowers and pay guys.
Yep. Yeah.
So when you get tapped out, and I'm sure you've seen your growing pains, kind of talk on that and to grow. Yeah. Luckily, you built the landscaping side. Yeah. And then the arborist and tree service is where you're growing now. Yeah. But the demand too, now with that, you're doing jobs where normally you're outside of your lawn area. Yeah. And people that are like, oh, well, you can mow my lawn.
Yeah, you got to refer them to people because you cannot mow everybody's lawn in Bloomfield and Newington. Yeah. Unless you have enough accounts nearby, it doesn't make sense. So it's one of the things that you look for. But I look for people partners to, if anybody's out there too, starting a mowing company, I love to help people out and give referrals because people take the referrals. It's so hard for people to find a landscape company that they can trust. And I can't say that I'm, the best landscape company there ever was in West Hartford. That's probably not true. There was great companies that came before me.
I mean, my high school landscaping company, I was the best out there.
Yeah, right?
One-man job?
Keating Brothers, and then my dad shut that down because there was liabilities. We don't have insurance. He's like, you can't put that out there.
Yeah, that's why you started. Your grandfather started this. Yeah.
And cross-cutting. Someone told me one day, they're like, you didn't cross-cut my lawn.
Gosh, there's so many things to it.
And I'm sure no one knows what cross-cutting is. Seldom people know what cross-cutting is. So kind of just talk what goes into a good lawn job.
Yeah, what goes into a good lawn job is first talking to, listening what the customer's expectations are. And then knowing that you're going to cut the grass the same way each time, you string trim all the edges, you blow everything off when you're done, you're sensitive to any concerns they have, like how high they want it cut, how short they want it cut. But you also have to hold your line about how you're going to do the job, and that's the system that you do. Because you want to cut it not too short, because then the grass can die, and I don't want to be responsible for that. There's just so many. I could read a 90-page manual just to train somebody on mowing. It's that simple. It's like any business. Yeah. People out there listening work for big corporations. Yeah. Every single job in the corporation is a 100-page manual to train somebody on. It's the same with landscaping.
Processes.
Yep.
having
Yep.
a process, and,
Yep.
and it helps set expectations that way too.
Yep.
And when you bring people on, it's here's the manual, or
Yeah.
Right.
you know,
Must be hard to let go because you
Oh,
started
yes.
out kind of right, maybe a one man shop,
Yeah.
right, doing it yourself, and you had it your right way, and then you bring a few people on, you're like, you got to let go.
You do.
Train and let go.
Yeah, and you want them to feel the reward of doing a good job, and so you pay them right, and you also give them an attaboy at the end of the week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. But the best people that work for me, I have all these guys who've been in landscaping for like 30, 40 years even.
Yeah.
And they may be towards the end of a career outdoors, but they know everything about landscaping, and
Sure.
in their specialties. Some of them are good at installing lawns, some are good at mowing lawns, some are good at trees.
Yeah.
But those guys, I'm so lucky I have them because they add that element of experience, like deep experience to the crew, and that's when the guy who mows my lawns, he's Neil, he's my crew leader.
Okay.
He really has that experience,
Yeah.
And he's mowed lawns in West Hartford for having his own company before. So, he's a lot of fun to work with because he takes everything in stride. He's really likes to work in harmony with his crew, and he gets it done right, And if he doesn't, he adjusts, and we give him feedback
It's
on
good
it.
to have those guys in your team.
Yeah,
too.
that's
So go back to we talked a little bit before about arborist is kind of your thing, your bread and butter there.
Yeah.
Go back to you were here in 2011.
Yeah.
Right, we're almost on that an anniversary, right?
That's true. Yeah,
Anniversary
storm season's here.
of I think they call it Frankenstorm or something like that.
Halloween.
Halloween,
What an
whatever
event,
it was.
huh?
But tell us your experience about obviously you had to get involved, right?
Mhm.
It was a lot of bucket trucks around, but
Yeah, and I've got to see from other people's viewpoints, not just my own experience, which was just out there with the chainsaw for 12 days straight, cutting stuff off of people's driveways and lawns.
Halloween?
Yeah.
With the mask?
Yeah, right,
There you go.
basically.
Mask on, chainsaw?
Jason,
They canceled
Mike
Halloween.
Myers. Yeah.
They canceled Halloween twice
2 years in a row. Yeah.
For Hurricane Sandy the next year.
The next year.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
That must have been terrible. I can't imagine being a kid and having that happen.
Just buy your own candy and eat it. Takes the fun
I
out of
mean,
it.
your,
But it
your
was,
daughters are here right now.
Yeah.
I
So,
give them a whole box of candy.
yeah, I know.
They're gonna sugar high later.
That'd be great. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. But storms and we actually the hurricane. You went down.
Yeah.
Did you go down?
After Hurricane, so we did the storm during 2011, and I started to get into tree business, and I would start selling on behalf of other companies. You got to learn a lot about trees to be able to sell a tree job, to visualize how it's going to be done and how much you can charge for it, and you how to sell to customers based on each individual scenario. So you got to see a lot of that to be able to sell tree jobs. But I started doing that year, and I sold on behalf of another company in town, 2 other companies in town actually. And then in return, I would keep the landscape account for that person that I sold a tree job to. And I would also get paid a couple $100 if it was a big tree job as commission. Mm-hmm. So it worked out well for me. And sometimes I'd be a ground man, and I'd get to get in there, get my hands dirty, and see how they did the job. Mm-hmm. So I had more experience with it. And the next year, Hurricane Sandy came, and then all these tree guys that I had met who came to town, I call them chainsaw cowboys. They're guys from Kentucky, Indiana, Texas, Florida.
People from everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. It was just like a free for all for private contractors, and it was a good thing, but also it was a real learning experience. It gave me a bunch of street smarts with dealing with those type of guys because they're wild men. And I went down to Hurricane Sandy with them, and I lived in a house and sold tree work for a company out of Ohio, and then another company out of where were they from? Indiana. Mm-hmm. And then I eventually did some of my own stuff, and I was there till April 1st, and I came back to West Hartford. So I got to work all through the winter doing tree service, and we did crazy stuff. I mean, not like crazy like we couldn't do it, just like stuff I'd never been involved with before. Now we do it all the time. 90-foot oak trees, over houses.
Yep.
Like there was some intense stuff. Big blowovers on mountains where you have like 12 pine trees down. People are telling you stories that they almost got hit by the tree, and it was intense, and it was fun because it's profitable. And as a young man, you're looking forward to that profit that you're going to earn doing the job. There's no faster way to make money for somebody with my experience, so I went after it.
As much as you love trees, I'm sure you also love when they fall, as long as everything's safe, because it's always good for you.
Yeah. I suppose there's an element, I think, that'll always be there of the insurance work.
Sure.
And what that means is that if a tree falls and it's a priority, the insurance company is on the same page we are that it's a priority. So there's going to be like kind of like an overtime or an extra show up fee to make sure this job gets done quickly and gets done right.
Right.
And so that's an element of the business always going to be there in the background. You can make an extra, whatever it is, a couple $100 extra just to show up to do those jobs sometimes.
Right.
And there's a lot more magnitude of work. It's more dangerous and it's more strenuous and it's more frantic and hectic when there's storms.
Yep.
So it's tough. It's tough. More liability.
And how do you balance it in with scheduled jobs? So you got people you committed to.
Yeah,
and
true.
All of a sudden, the weatherman can't predict the weather. So
right.
That's something that's interesting because people who've hired tree services before, they're really understanding about scheduling. That it's gonna, it's on our schedule. We're offering a specialized service, and they're gonna have to wait for it, and a certain expectation of 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it is. If there's a storm, you push it out. Hey, it's gonna be 5 or 6 weeks before you can get to you. But we're gonna get through everybody that we've sold before. I don't know. I'm still learning about how to balance everything, but yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, and we live in an on-demand, growing culture of want it now. And, I mean, trees have grown. You talked before mature trees. What's a mature tree mean?
A mature tree, I would say, depends on the species, but typically at least 25 years old. Okay. And some trees actually, they're like people. When they reach adolescence, they change. Like certain trees, like sycamore trees, they start peeling their bark when they get to a certain age. Some trees won't fruit or flower for at least 15 years after you plant them.
What does that mean? I mean,
they won't have like a full like set of of fruit of seeds till there are a certain age.
Was it the leaves or is that?
No, it's like the helicopters off the maple, for instance. That maple's fruit sooner.
When they start budding, kind of springtime.
Oh yeah. It'd be like April, May. Yeah.
And so that's the.
Those aren't the seeds though. Those are just the leaves.
When you get the little red or.
Yeah, there's a whole process to the reproductive cycle of the tree.
To learn about trees.
There's the bud, and then there's the opening of the flower and the spreading of the pollen, and then there's the setting of the seed, which is the pollen reaches the female part, and then there's the seed drops. Yeah, there's so much to it, but yeah, you asked about mature trees, so it's like maybe I would say at least 25 years old, but on some trees, and especially in West Hartford, we have trees that are 50 years old or older. Yeah. And those are the trees that are majestic, irreplaceable in the short run, and they just require so much stewardship to get to that point. And you can let a tree be, and it'll get to that point.
Sure.
But you can also make a mistake, like digging a big hole for whatever front walk or gas line or right next to a big tree.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it because it doesn't happen the next year, but 3 or 4 years later the tree goes into decline and dies.
Yeah.
It's because you dug in the root zone of that tree.
Oh, okay.
And so it's something that's like, but it's greater than us. Like we come and go. The average person sells a house every 8 years. You move,
Sure.
And so the previous person may have really cared for those trees, cabled them, been there for 30 years, and then the new person comes in. It's like a snap in the time of like in nature's time frame when people come and go.
Yeah.
And so we don't think about the mature trees all the time like that. Yeah.
So for someone who obviously knows a lot about trees and notices them as you go along, you talked about the canopies before and all that stuff. It's a tree not in West Hartford, but in Simsbury. I think it's the largest tree in Connecticut.
Oh, the Pinchot sycamore.
Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's near Abigail's,
by
right?
The bridge?
Near the bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, you go over the bridge right there, like on the right.
Yeah. Enormous, right? It's the largest tree in Connecticut.
Yeah, it's really old too.
How old?
I think it's about 300 plus years.
Is it really?
Yeah, because it was a big tree in like pre-industrial times.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a marker for like this tree by the river at the ford or whatever. It was on the old property maps, and it was known as a mature tree back then. Yeah. I have to look it up, but it's the Pinchot sycamore named after. Forget the first name.
When you were saying we were talking about tree age, I'm like the first thing that came into my mind was a lot of old trees around here, but the one that one particular.
Well, I remember
it's lit up really beautifully.
Yeah, they light it up too. Yeah.
It's a conversation, like you said. It was a foundation. It was on maps. How do you map stuff? And we still do it.
Yeah.
Oh, take a left at the CVS or the.
Right.
you use landmarkers
It's a landmark.
trees.
It totally is a landmark, yeah.
And so a mature tree in 25 years or more, do trees hit a point where they die, Andrew?
Yeah, trees, they can have a lifespan. And so the lifespan for a tree, if it's in a forested environment, like if its roots have nice, unfertilized land, meaning like there's like detritus and mulch at its base. Like this sycamore tree has some.
It?
Yeah, this is it. Here, I just pulled it up on the phone.
Yeah.
Well, for our audio viewer, we're looking at the digital
sycamore. Yeah.
Difference between a zoo animal and a wild animal, right? So most animals probably live longer in the wild. Some live longer in the zoo. Same with the tree. How long do they live in the lawn? Probably not even half the length that they would live in the forest. And there's probably a couple of species that are better in the lawn, like the pioneer species of the forest that typically get crowded out and killed early, like birches or cherries. But you go into the forest and you cut down a tree, and I've done this to clear land for building of cabins in summer camps, and you get through like a tree that you would think might be 50 years old that's like 2 feet thick, or even 100 years old, and it ends up being like 200 years old
really?
because the rings are so tightly spaced.
Yeah.
They don't grow that fast in the forest.
Right.
And it's like, did I just cut down a 200-year-old tree? What am I doing?
Yeah.
It's like like pre-industrial.
I sense your almost remorse.
Yeah.
Have you felt?
I'm just like a blumbering idiot when it comes to trees, right? But I have like a modicum of intelligence about it. Yeah.
I mean, I was like killing your dog, Old Yeller. But when you're taking down a tree, and do you feel remorse? Or like, man, the nature.
Depends on the type of the tree. Sometimes if a tree is threatening the people's home, and I've seen instances where people get have serious problems, expenses, big deductibles, and they're out of their house. I have no mercy for those trees. It's like, it's too much trouble.
You gotta go. There are
still a lot more in society, in the world.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but if they're a beautiful tree and it's good structure, I let the customer know there's an element of risk here.
Yeah.
But are you willing to keep? Or it's like, this is the wrong type of tree. It's rot. It could fail at any time.
Yeah.
I highly recommend removal because it could interrupt your life and everyone else's around you. So there's. But
we
yeah.
learn a lot more about for another podcast. Let's do a tree edge.
It's fun.
So on the ring, so in the wild, the rings are smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But a tree in a yard or a suburban area like West Hartford, that tree's gonna grow more girth with bigger
faster.
rings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's way faster growing.
Why is that?
Because it has more sunlight and has less competition in the beginning.
Okay.
So the water, there's less. I mean, when it rains, that tree can.
Perhaps. I don't know what the bottleneck to growth is. I would assume it's sunlight.
Sunlight.
But those trees that have tightly spaced rings, I would bet that the wood's a little bit denser and more highly valued for timber works, like building, framing, or working for like carvings and stuff like that. Yeah. Tables, whatnot.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
and then on that, just crazy thing. I mean, this is a solid table that we're at. Heavy table. Well, actually, I guess we can see it looking at it. I mean, was probably
it's got rings on it.
That has.
It's laminate. It's called Vermeer. They place it over like some type of particle.
So it's fake.
Board, a pressed board. Yeah, it's fake.
So this whole
this whole
wooden table.
The thin layer of veneer. Yeah.
But I mean, you can still use it as an example.
Good one, Ryan.
So when you look at it, like this would be looking at a tree. Would this be a horizontal cut or a vertical cut?
It's actually, they do a veneer. They try to visualize it. It's pretty interesting, the veneer process. That's the highest value for timber these days is veneer.
Veneer, yeah.
So they get a turner and they just scrape off like 1/16 of an inch as they turn the log. So they get just a little bit of wood off each time. And this one, I don't know exactly how this was done, but it's essentially, it would be curved, but then they flatten it out and they press it. So you can get like 20 tables like this out of one thin log, like maybe 12-inch log. I mean, it's amazing how they use it and how they maximize.
And I guess on that, do you know the tree to paper ratio?
No, I don't know. That's not my side of the business. I'm not a producer. I love learning about
Ryan
stuff
was going
like
down
that.
the rabbit hole.
Yeah, right? Yeah, deep.
Wow.
Well, I guess back to then what you do know, trees and winter's coming up.
Yeah.
winter is coming, that freaking show. What do people need to know about tree safety or tree management for their home?
Yeah, what should people be keeping in mind?
I want to express this thought because I've like glimpsed something that I think very few people have here, that having a big tree in West Hartford, depending on the species, is like being in what's that movie, The Soylent Green, where the people are living in utopia, and then once in a while somebody gets claimed
I did not see that movie,
and eaten.
Okay.
Like, and it's like,
is it on Netflix?
So it's really a
Armageddon
dystopia.
or,
Yeah. So it's like that. It's like that with trees. If you have big white pine trees next to your house and you've lost a branch before, it's like a matter of time before you lose another branch and it goes through a structure or ruins your car.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so certain species, and given the decline or the structural integrity of the tree, people are just at such risk, but they don't realize it, and that's the concern that I have. That people around town, they just don't know about which trees are good and which trees are bad.
Yeah.
And then I show up when the tree falls through the house, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that's
where were you?
Yes.
Andrew.
Yeah, right.
we deal with that in our business.
There should be like some insurance. This is a good idea I just had, right?
Here we go.
There should be like some insurance based on tree species, location, and like tree condition, right? Because there's so many trees out there, and you deal, but you're averaging it across like the healthy trees, and you're averaging all that risk across. I mean, not you, but the producers, whatever.
The carriers,
And so they might say once in a while, hey, trim this off of the chimney, trim this off of the roof, but they're averaging like tree risk across all the different species of trees.
We've been seeing it in West Hartford.
You could be a little more pinpoint about it.
Is it the cable companies? There's been someone going.
Yeah, a splunge for Eversource.
Yeah.
They have a certain directive, right? And it's systemized. It's like 20 feet up and 10 feet back, I think, something like that.
The power lines. I mean, they're trimming trees, so when it gets cold, things freeze, and that
ruthlessly trimming trees.
They're taking them up fully. They offered to do our neighbor's tree, and he said it blocks the sun from his office. And I think you probably see a lot of people that enjoy. You mentioned
having the
shade and the sunlight and what the trees do. And one of the things that I noticed, species of trees.
Yeah.
How many different types of species do we have in West Hartford? Or maybe, like, what are some of the most common trees?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like you have maples, oaks, and we have some ash trees, and we have white pine trees. Those are really common. You have linden trees. You have oak, hickory trees. All types of trees. I mean,
a lot of birch.
A lot of birch too.
You have birch?
Yeah, they're small. People get ornamental birch, but you don't have a lot of big birch. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. People have small ones they buy from the nursery. There's some elms left. Yeah.
So what have the elms been dying? Or?
Yeah, they get Dutch elm disease when they're typically about 40 years old or around thereabouts, and they die. That's it. And there's a few that are still standing. It's like, I don't know, maybe a 2% survival rate from back in the 70s. Used to be Elmwood was just lined with elms. I think they were like touching each other over the road. I mean,
we weren't alive.
Yeah, no, I wasn't alive then. So I don't know.
Because that's what I was going to get to Elmwood. I was going to get Elmwood. I mean, where did the names derive from? It must have been a bunch of elms.
Yeah, and they all died in the 70s from Dutch, from what I hear.
Put homes, houses,
building.
And you kind of touched on a little before, people not knowing, moving in. There's an 8-year life cycle of living at a home. Driveways are always been there generally. The house is built.
Oftentimes, yeah, you see people with 60-year-old, 100-year-old driveways.
With these trees as they grow on someone's property, do the roots? I mean, they get sewage. So how does that kind of? What do you?
Oh my gosh, dude, it's a nightmare. Like, I just did a job today. We planted a tree, and we're digging out next to the tree to replant, and there's no utilities anywhere, but it's smelling like sewage as we're digging. And it's like, what is going on here? There's no septic at this house, but then the sewer drain's marked, and it's over there, like 40 feet away, it's like 30 feet away. It's been leaking and seeping down for like decades, and the seepage smell has reached over here because this tree's roots infiltrated the terracotta sewage, and that's not the only person that's happened to around town.
Well, I mean, we see it's not covered on insurance, the sewer lines, and it's going to be a very growing problem in West Hartford and suburbs.
It's an unseen expense that people have
like
when they buy a house. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Assuming you had no real major landscaping or masonry to replace on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So, but it's something that once people do, hopefully the problem's solved for good.
So Andrew, before we started, we talked a little bit about what you do to market yourself, right? So I think a lot of in the past it's been I'll see a truck around, or who's my neighbor using, or who's someone else using, word of mouth. Yeah. But you do more than the average bear in terms of marketing yourself online, newsletters. I get your newsletter, cool. Social media stuff. You're kind of telling your story as you go. Mm-hmm. How important has that been for you?
It's been critical to the success so far of the business. And like I said, because still feel like I'm just at the very, very beginning of my career. But the marketing stuff's been a lot of fun. I've gone to some conferences and seen examples of other people who've grown $10 million businesses. And I learned their techniques. Yep. And I brought it into my business. I don't use it every day, but every month I do something significant. And that's been so critical to, so if people want to go, here's what, I go to conferences all the time. And if I could share one thing from those conferences that I think people miss the point with like wealth building, is that in this day and age, everything's made, you can make it the same price or better overseas, right? So we don't manufacture that many things that people buy in state. And, the high-tech stuff, yes, Pratt & Whitney and technology, but it's like everybody and everything is replaceable or repeatable elsewhere for probably cheaper or by a machine. But the one thing you can't replace is the authority that people can speak with on consulting on an area of expertise. Yep. So being the wizard in your area of expertise is the one thing that's a true wealth builder for people. Yep. And so people want to do all these different, not schemes, but people succeed at it, but network marketing, real estate, all these things are great because you learn great skills doing them. And some people have a lot of success, especially if they join a team doing those type of things. But when you really comes down to it, the best way to build wealth is to have an area of expertise and be the authority in that subject field, because then you can sell and consult to sell those products and services other people are producing.
Go all in on your strengths.
Yes, right. And build a niche and then build out from there. Yep. That's where it's at.
People think they need to do everything. Yeah, right? And maximize all my different revenue channels and this and that. I got to be everywhere. But what happens there is you dilute your performance sometimes when you do that. So you're zeroing in. Starting to zero in on what you do really well. Yeah. And it's paying off.
Yeah, it is. It is. Because other people see it and then they refer it back through to me, and then I refer out stuff that I'm not the expert on. Yeah. And so that's
you get referrals.
Yeah, true. Referrals back. It's just goodwill. That's the biggest asset of a business is goodwill. Yeah. It's not equipment, it's not employees, it's goodwill. So that's where it goes.
Goodwill, good intentions, and being truthful and honest.
Client list.
Well, we were talking about that earlier when we were at the Park Road Parade with the woman from AC Peterson. I can't remember her name. We were talking about giving back.
Get a water real quick.
We were talking about giving back, right? It takes a few years to build a business, right? And it's not as transactional as we always want to. In the
past,
not
as fast as you want.
I'm going to do a job for you, and you're going to pay me. I'm going to do a job for you. But a lot of times, the way things are right now is people are giving away more and more because you kind of have to nowadays. So, but then it comes back in droves when it actually comes back.
Well, you kind of got to give, and it's always been give before you get, or give. You got to give. Giver's gain.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, giver's gain is one of the biggest things out there, and if you help others, it comes back to you. Karma and all that.
It opens you up too. Like
philosophy.
If you and I go do a volunteer project together, we're free and easy because it's like we feel great about ourselves, and everybody's appreciative of what we're doing. So it's something that also improves your motivation for your business. Sure. So I've done a bunch of volunteer stuff, and I hope to do tons more because it just makes me feel great.
And on the volunteer side, is it services or?
Right now, I think I can add the most value with services because I have a specialty, and so we donate a $300 gift certificate to silent auctions. I have 4 of those that we do every year. And then we'll donate tree service to churches. And I'm always looking for another project. I try to do one every month because it's some of the funnest stuff we do.
Well, I guess you mentioned last month you did. Were you at a camp? Or
we did Westminster Church.
the church.
Yeah, we did a big tree project there, and I charged very little for it, just cost.
You gotta pay your people.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So it worked out really well. It was like 3 days of tree work, heavy duty, all equipment, 5 men on site each time. It was awesome.
Well, and speaking of that, you guys are really cool. You basically have created, going back to Sisto, other than one day, you just staff up.
Yeah.
In and out, tree down, grinded this, stump gone.
Yeah, it's going to be a system that just plays out start to finish, and I'm not going to be there. That's going to be cool. I don't know how soon that day is, but that's going to be really nice when that day comes, and it's going to be interesting, because then you can focus all your energies on the next thing. And like what I have a passion about is this whole idea of helping people find their area of expertise and learn marketing. Because marketing, it's not a dirty word. Marketing is a beautiful thing. It's communication with people, and it's finding what the market demands of you, what the market needs of you, and giving, offering, because people don't know about you unless you tell them about you.
Tell them.
You don't get anything in life unless you ask.
It's like sales.
Yep.
People, oh, you're a salesman. No, I mean, we're providing you value for things you need.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why do I need to trim my tree? Oh, X, Y, Z is going to happen. These are dead limbs, or just the brush bag. And you're talking that. Just the normal maintenance people should have.
Yeah, just normal maintenance. You can plan ahead for things with trees, but you need a consultant who's seen the damage before. And I'm just, like I said, like
well, the maintenance
capable of that.
Just kind of going into that.
Maintenance of trees. Yeah, typically trees depending on species, need to be trimmed every 2 to 5 years. And not every tree needs to be trimmed. If it's closed in amongst other trees, you just do an inspection for dead wood. But if it's an open grown tree, those branches that are low, depending on species, some of them are stronger than others, and they can fail during ice storms, wind storms. We get a 100-mile-an-hour wind event. I don't know what the average is, but it might be every decade. The trees that haven't been trimmed suffer, and the ones that have been trimmed, you can tell because they have barely any branches on the ground. It's just, good maintenance on trees. And when you go up and inspect the crown, you can see what's wrong with the tree. So it's an expense people should plan for if they have a big tree.
Yeah.
I hate to say it because we have these old homes with so many other expenses in town.
So pulling into, kind of where Ryan was alluding to before, but like the fall and the winter season, right? So whether it has to do with trees or landscape, what should people be thinking about now?
Okay, yeah.
Coming into the season.
People should be thinking about planning ahead for leaf cleanup, like lining up somebody who can vacuum the leaves for them.
Yep.
People should be thinking about the October ice storm, just some simple pruning you can do and put it all together because, like you hire a tree service to come out. Oftentimes, I can go a little lower because I'm right in town. I have smaller equipment.
Sure.
But typically it's like at least $1,000 to hire tall tree pruning to be done at your house.
Yep.
And you put it all together, so you have like a little half-day project, you can get it done quickly. Stuff that's over the house, rot in the branches, seeping wounds on the tree, just things that look out of place, like common sense. People have seen tree damage before, so they can get a sense of what they need to do to do preventative maintenance on the trees.
So if you're a homeowner in town and you're looking at your house right now and you see something that's kind of overbearing or whatever, you haven't taken care of it, you might want to give Andrew a call.
Yeah, of course. Any tree service. There's a handful of really good tree service in town too.
Yeah, as we enter foliage, people love New England for now.
Yeah.
But can you tell a tree's health or characteristics by how their colors are?
Yeah, you can. Like if it loses its leaves early, then it takes typically in more decline than other types of trees. That's the intellectual part. You're always learning about that and getting the nuance of it every season. Yeah, you can tell. You can tell a tree's health by if the leaves turn early. Some trees have diseases; they always turn early, and that's every single species of that tree. And it's not necessarily bad for the tree. Like the horse chestnut turns early because it just has a leaf disease. Yeah, horse chestnut tree. But yeah,
you don't know about that one.
Yeah, Wikipedia is great these days.
Okay, Google.
I'm like, I know that one, horse chestnut.
Well, with that, so then we get all the variety of colors, and do certain trees have certain colors that the leaves transition into, or?
Yeah, they do. Like the sugar maple is always a beautiful color change progression from yellow to orange to red, and that's what the Vermont colors are from, is the sugar maple, because probably half of Vermont's trees close to it are sugar maples. And then some other, you can buy shrubs and bushes that turn different colors, like beet red or purple. It's pretty this time of year. It's really something nice to look at. That's another element.
Starting to turn.
Beauty. Yeah, it's cool. Starting to turn. Yeah.
So I don't know if you have. I have my fight. We ask a guest. We ask every guest a final question.
Okay, sure.
So
It's
before
nothing to
that,
do with what we're
so
talking
one
about.
note I took down on this.
I want to see if Brian has any.
I just took tallest tree.
Yeah.
Like what's the tallest tree in height you've gone?
I think I found the tallest tree in West Hartford just
really?
recently. It's an Avalon Road. It's in the back of somebody's house. It's a white pine, and it might be like 120 feet tall. Maybe
Really?
110. Maybe I'm gonna go
That's tall.
110. Yeah, 110.
Yeah.
That's a tall tree.
Building.
You can see it from Boulevard. If you look left, right at Avalon Street, it's a 110 foot
Oh, really?
pine tree in someone's
Check that out.
backyard. Yeah.
My kids actually.
What
Cool.
and I know it's like so age to growth.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's very small. It's like bamboo.
Yeah.
Bamboo trees don't grow for like 7 to 10 years, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, like it's
The fastest growing tree, right? I think.
after it hits a sing.
I don't know if
But
we have
normal
bamboos
trees
in
and
town
species.
here, but
How does the tree growth kind of go down?
It depends. If they grow in a grove, trees like to grow in a grove. They can support each other. They can probably grow a little faster. The science of trees is not very well studied or understood compared to, say, human health or other scientific fields, physics. So you have to deduce these things. And so we think trees grow better in a grove. They grow better if they have ideal conditions, like really fertile soil. There's certain parts of town I've noticed there's really fertile soil. They grow better if they have their ideal environment, like sugar maples really like to have a lot of leaf litter. So if you don't clean up the leaves in the sugar maples at the corner of the yard, it loves it. It can grow big and tall and grand and be totally healthy at 150 years old. So it just depends on its environment, really, how trees are grow. But then you have another tree that planted the same day. That maybe, let's say you have two trees 50 years old. One was planted the same day and pruned constantly and grew in the lawn, and then these other ones were just let grow and nobody ever cleaned up the leaves, and they look entirely different 50 years down the road. So the same species, same day they were planted, same everything. You just you're always learning more about how the trees grow out there.
And with that, in pruning, seeing some of it done, it looks a little weird sometimes when you just cut a limb.
Yeah.
And you got the naked. And They grow back. They grow out and.
Yeah, trees can bush out depending on the species again too. So you got to kind of get a sense. Evergreens have a tougher time bushing out oftentimes, but I don't know why that is. Maybe it's based on how they grow in the forest. But trees can recover. I mean, you go into the forest. There's leaning trees everywhere, blown over trees everywhere. Trees that are like laying on their side are fully in leaf and bloom, and they're like on their side. How is that possible?
Parallelly.
Yeah.
They're
still living.
They're uprooted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess like when something is uprooted and it keeps going.
Yeah.
And you're showing exposure of roots to. This has been fascinating.
If someone wants to learn about trees, I would love to help somebody go into the
Take
arborist
Andrew
field.
for coffee.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah, it's a great
what we
business.
need to, I'm just thinking right now, what we need to do is throw a hard hat on. Let's do a job shadow.
Dude.
Do a little documentate, do a little Facebook Live stuff.
I've seen
fun.
Andrew firsthand live.
Show it. Yeah, I think that'd be
Just
pretty
seeing
cool.
this and conducting as your crew, you're doing amazing things.
That is
Thanks.
cool. So Andrew,
Yeah,
we're
anyways.
gonna it's we learned a ton.
Covered a
Thank you.
lot.
We
Wow.
did cover a
Jeez.
lot.
We could go. You want to keep going?
I would love to,
Well, you-
but
you
I
got kids?
have my kids here. Unfortunately, they're buried in their what do you call it? Those Alexa things or whatever.
Yeah, they
they're called.
needed the Wi-Fi password.
So one thing, where
Sure.
do people get in touch with you? What's the easiest way to get in touch with
Oh,
you?
go to our website. We have some cool information and pictures on the website, troutbrooktree.com.
Okay.
troutbrooktree.com, and you can communicate with
Reach
us
out
through
to you
there.
there.
That's the easiest way.
We're gonna link you up in the on weha.com where we post this, and on YouTube
Great.
and all that stuff. So thank you for joining. We do. I have a final question
Sure,
that we kind of come up.
Yeah.
So obviously, being from the area, you know this area very well. I'm sure you've experienced a restaurant or two. This area being known for their culinary expertise, a lot of different places to go. What's your favorite place and what's your favorite dish? put you on the spot.
Yeah, sure. My favorite dish would typically be the ribeye or the New York strip steak, a fatty piece.
Okay.
And I really like the Treva and the Treva group of restaurants.
Yeah.
So it's consistently good food.
Absolutely.
So Zarhara, Treva,
right.
and Never.
So you're doing a nice steak at one of Dorian's spots.
Sometimes on a Friday, exactly. Yeah.
That's great. All right.
Yeah, Scott, Dorian do a great job.
It's one of the perks of West Hartford is our culinary experience is ever improving.
After an 80-hour week that you got.
Yeah. It's been fun. You're the first guest we've had. Did we ask Matt?
We forgot to ask Matt.
We did a wine tasting.
We did a wine tasting. We just didn't ask Matt.
Yeah, the first two guests we had, Tracy and Ronnie. They're like,
they're a little bit. They're playing nice in the sandbox. There's a lot of places, and we also rightfully so.
Business and
exactly, but you went right for it. Because I have my favorite. If I'm ever
what
asked,
is your favorite?
All right, so mine now, and Ryan's gonna do his. So my favorite dish in West Hartford is at Barcelona. It's the chicken pimiento. And if you go there, and it's not everybody like why is chicken the best dish? If you go to Barcelona and you ask the server, whoever comes over, what is their favorite dish? 9 times out of 10, they're gonna tell you. And they're not trying to sell it. It's just anybody you go in there, it's their favorite dish. So if you go there, it's a must try.
I'm definitely gonna
chicken pimento. It's like crusted over. It's got the skin on it. It's like a half chicken.
Oh,
it's got it's got potatoes. It's got I'm gonna go there after this, I think.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan. So
we did this, and I took the route of our first two guests. I mean, I can't just have one. I don't have one. And it's a medley. I'd say appetizer. I'd start with chicken wings from the Beachland Tavern group Chip and what they're doing, the smoked kitchen sink wings.
Yep.
And then I really love the salad at Max Burger, the lean green salad with seared tuna. Delicious.
Good one.
I go there for a salad. I go to Max Burger for salad. And then, I love salmon, and actually Brico's is very consistent, always consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious salmon.
I'm taking notes over here. So ahi tuna salad.
I like the chicken parm special and the linguine and clam special at Brico.
Yeah.
I mean, fantastic. It's nice to have them a certain day. There's so much.
We're very fortunate to have some good spots, and we're very fortunate to have some good landscaping arborists around town. So Andrew, we thank you for joining us, coming out after a hard day of work, and we'll do this again sometime.
Absolutely, I'm happy to help.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks.
Cheers. Peace. Video now.
If it's still going, this is.
Now it's recording again.